Hey guys, MetalJesus here, and today I am very excited to take a look at a brand new product by a company called New Wave Toys. This is a 12-inch tall replica of the 1983 classic arcade game Dragon's Lair. And by the way, this was sent to me for review by New Wave Toys. Now, the reason why I am excited to take a look at this is because, well, I got a sneak peek of this last year at Portland Retro Gaming Expo. New Wave Toys had a booth up and they were showing some of their current products that they've made, as well as a sneak peek of this one. And I was blown away. I'm not kidding, guys. I was like, wow, that looks incredible. And a year later, here it is. Now, if you're not familiar with the arcade game Dragon's Lair, well, let me tell you, back in 1983, as a young kid going to my local arcade, I was blown away when I first saw this. And the reason for that is because, at the time in 83, I was playing mostly Joust and Tempest and games like Donkey Kong and, some other games that were out at the time. And those were fantastic. They're classics, right? But then there was this amazing arcade game that had animation. And at the time, it was just a revolution. It was just like, what is this? And so the way that they pulled this neat little trick off was cramming a Pioneer Laserdisc into the arcade unit itself. And man, again, at the time it was kind of crazy because it actually cost twice what other arcade games cost to play. I remember paying, I believe, 50 cents to play it, and it was just, again, it was like, wow, this is going to be the future of video games. And they were right, full motion video was a thing that happened. And then nowadays, you can have graphics like this, but man, it was just a marvel back in 1983. And so it's for those reasons I was really curious to see how they're gonna pull off this replication of that arcade machine. Now, I'm gonna give you a little bit of a sneak peek here. They actually modeled the laser disc that goes in the back as well, and I'm gonna show that. But so let's go ahead and open it up here. So when you first open it up, you have this packet of little goodies here, and in there are some interesting ones, including this sticker of Daphne that you can put on the kick plate in the front if you want. There's also some replica quarters in here as well, and they're to scale. That's a nice little detail. And then here's the manual, which is pretty cool because the front cover there is actually a recreation of the original manual that you would have got had you bought this back in 1983. But of course, the details on the inside talk about the actual replication arcade machine, so you can set it up and kind of know what you're getting into. And then check this out. This is a recreation of the actual laser disc that would have, held the game. And again, it's so wild because back in 1983, this was kind of the bleeding edge technology for video entertainment. I actually owned a Laserdisc player at one point, but yeah, it's crazy that this is in there. Now, obviously it's not a real Laserdisc. Real Laserdiscs are 12 inches, but it's a nice little detail. And actually it ties into what I'm going to show you later with the player that comes with this. And then there is the USB charging cable. No power brick, but that's usually not a problem. I know myself, I've got probably 10 of them laying around my house. It does come with a lithium ion battery in it. So it actually does charge and you can take it and basically play it anywhere if you want. And then here's the unit itself. And like I mentioned, it's 12 inches tall. So it's really designed to sit on your desk, like at work or wherever. All right, now I want to walk around this thing and kind of show you some of the highlights. But one thing I do want to mention is that New Wave Toys tries to really replicate what that original arcade machine looked like and also functioned, which is a little bit different than other companies that have released these, old arcade machines designed, to sit on your desk or be in your game room. And you'll see what I mean here because it's got a lot of features. For instance, on the front here, they have a raised metal coin door that actually opens and you can store like quarters in there, like real quarters in there. It's just cool that actually it opens and closes again like a real one. And then swinging around to the back, it's got a bunch of stuff going on here, including a power button, no big deal. You have a volume button. To the right of that is where you plug in the USB charging. Again, remember it has a lithium ion battery in here, so you charge it up and you can take it with you. Notice that there are 2 USB ports there, and that's because it supports 2 external USB controllers if you want. And then there is HDMI out, which is pretty nice. I'm gonna show that running here in a little bit. And then notice this little drawer here. So if you open that up, this is where they keep the replica of the Pioneer PR7820 Laserdisc player. I thought this was just the coolest thing. When I first got a preview of this last year, I was like, okay, this is above and beyond. Now, obviously, don't even ask. It doesn't work. It's simply just there for show and to make it, obviously feel more authentic. But, the lid opens up, and that's where you can put the replica Laserdisc in there if you want. Of course, you would want to do that, right? And then also notice this, a nice little touch. It has a replica of the remote control, which I just thought this was hilarious. All right, let's go ahead and power this on and get back to the front because there's a lot going on there, starting with that screen. So this screen immediately just blew me away. It looks gorgeous, and I hope I can capture this on film well. It's very crisp, it's very bright. It's in the 4:3 aspect ratio, which is what you would expect. The screen is actually 4.2 inches. So it's again, it's to scale in here. It's very usable. It may look small on screen, but again, when you're sitting in front of it, the game is completely playable. And speaking of playing the games, the way that works is, so I mentioned the metal coin door down below. Well, that is functional. So the left button there actually puts lives into the machine. And then on the right, it brings up the menu. So that's pretty cool. And you'll notice that the marquee lights up, and then just below that, but right above the monitor, well, there are these LED cabinet accents, which also work. So depending on how many players you have, how many lives you have, it tracks your score. Again, it's all in real time, and it just works. And then the game itself is actually running through the Daphne Laserdisc emulator, which a lot of people have been using for years now. I have it on my stand-up MAME arcade machine, and it looks really good on the screen and plays really well. Now, I mentioned that you could go into the operator's menu by pushing the second button on the metal coin door. So here it is. You've got some things you can change here, including the screen brightness, the audio. You can also turn on or off a track mode. You can change how many dirks you get per credit, which is really nice because this game is not easy. You can also toggle on and off the marquee. You can set the difficulty level, which when you're first starting this game, I highly recommend you do easy because this game is all about memorization. You can also turn on or off the joystick sound, and then also the screen blanking. So the original game was very notorious for this reason. Well, I don't know if it's notorious, but basically what would happen is that there would be a little bit of a screen blank whenever you were choosing options because the laser had to search for the next screen. So if you want that to be on and be a little bit more authentic, you can, or you can just leave it off.
Dragon's Lair, the fantasy adventure where you become a valiant knight on a quest to rescue the fair princess from the clutches of an evil dragon.
And then there's the game. And, it's interesting because this is a 12-inch replica of an arcade machine. And so you would think, is it going to be actually playable? But yeah, it's completely playable. It works great on this. Again, I mentioned just how clear that screen is, and in person, it is extremely clear. I do have to apologize though, because if you've ever played the arcade version of Dragon's Lair, it is really tough because essentially it's almost like using a remote control on your TV to control like a game. It's very similar to that where, you're basically choosing where you want Dirk to go. And you kind of have to memorize this game, otherwise you're just going to die a lot. And so this game can be pretty tough to play if you're not used to it. What's interesting is that it's actually somewhat randomized. So every time you play, the scenes that you jump into will be slightly different than last time. Now, the game actually has 200 choices to make. And so there is a lot to do in this, but it can basically be completed, in about 12 minutes if you know everything, if you know all the moves. And then here's the game using the HDMI output to my HD television. And, honestly, it's a little fuzzy and it's not that clear. And it might just simply be because the original Laserdisc was probably low resolution. So it's upscaling, to 720p and it just doesn't look that great. Honestly, I don't think most people will be playing it this way. There's probably easier, better options to do that. It's nice that the feature is here, but I think most people are going to be playing it, hunkered over the actual arcade machine. Now, this was originally kickstarted earlier this year, and I believe backers are going to be getting their machines shortly. But New Wave Toys is going to open it up for more people soon. I'll put a link down to their website below. It's going to retail for $120. And I want to thank them for sending me a review unit. If you can't tell, I am super excited for this. Again, it's just a piece of my childhood. It's such a cool piece of gaming history, and it's going to be a permanent part of my game room. And I'd love to see them do a Space Ace one. As much as I love Dragon's Lair, Space Ace was my jam. That was a great game too. All right, guys, love to know what you think down in the comments below. And as always, I want to thank you for watching my channel. Thank you for subscribing, and take care.